I am Kurt at eTrailer, and today we're going to be talking about the Hollywood Racks Sport Rider SE 2-bike rack on our 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee L. Now, if you have any experience with this rack and you'd like to share, please comment below. We'd love to hear about what you think about this bike rack so we can use that information to share with our other neighbors and help them make the best decision possible. Now, let's take a look at this rack on the vehicle. Now, the popularity of e-bikes has really soared over the last few years. So if you own one or if you're thinking about getting one, it is important to have a bike rack that is strong enough to hold a bike such as that because they're so much heavier. This is a pretty hefty bike rack, weighing in at about 53 pounds. But being that sturdy is great because it's going to allow us to have a capacity on here of 80 pounds per bike. And that's really kind of at the higher end of what these e-bikes are weighing these days. It is a frame mount, which means you're going to have this hook that comes and clamps down over the frame to keep it in place. It's also going to be accompanied by two wheel straps that are ratcheted through that it can accommodate all different types of widths of tires. In fact, you have a 5-inch space in here, allowing it to accommodate tires up to 5 inches wide. So even if you don't have an e-bike and you have, say, a fat tire bike or something like that, it'll be able to accommodate that as well. Now, these wheelbases are adjustable back and forth as well, so you can accommodate all different sizes of bikes. There is a secondary hook here that you can remove if you'd like to. However, if you're going to have a second bike on here, you'll need that to be on here to clamp down as well. Each of these is going to have a lock on it, so you can keep the bike locked and secured and away from any theft. That also is going to have a locking hitch pin that's going to keep the bike rack secured to your hitch as an anti-theft device as well. So let's talk a little bit about how this bike rack fits on the 2023 Grand Cherokee L. As you can see from the back here, you are going to lose visibility of the license plate, which also generally means that you're going to lose visibility out of your rear view camera. You do have some visibility out of the rear window, although that might diminish a bit if you put a second bike on here. But depending on the type of tires you have, you actually do have a pretty clear view from behind of your tail lights, brake lights, turn lights. So as far as that goes, you should be all right. It also has a reflector here to assist cars behind you knowing what's there. Now, with that in mind, since we are very limited for the visibility, let's just take a look and see exactly how much more length this is going to add to our Grand Cherokee L. So from the bumper, measuring out, we're going to measure all the way out to the widest part, which would be right here. We are going to be adding about 30.5 inches extended beyond the bumper. So bear that in mind when you're backing up. You are going to have all this extra behind you. As far as ground clearance goes, the Jeep Grand Cherokee L actually has a pretty high hitch. So this isn't something we're going to be worried about with bottoming out. But for the sake of knowing how high it is, the bottom of the shank is going to come to about 18.5 inches off the ground. And from the furthest point out, we will be at 25 inches off the ground. This would really only be a real concern if you have to go up a serious incline, like if you have a serious driveway or if you're taking it off-road to do your biking. You might want to bear that in mind, but generally speaking, this is really high off the ground and I'm not worried about ground clearance. The height of this bike rack, however, can be a concern though when we're talking about e-bikes, which can weigh anywhere between 50 and 80 pounds. This does not include a ramp. And there is not a ramp attachment that you could get separately. So whenever you're loading this and unloading this, you have to keep in mind that you're going to be lifting these e-bikes up generally above knee level to get them on and off of this rack. So if that doesn't sound like something that you want to do, I would suggest taking a look at one of our bike racks that does have an included ramp with it to help you out in loading and unloading your e-bikes. Now, this rack does have your bike sitting relatively close to the back of the vehicle. So like a lot of bike racks, this has a tilt feature that will allow us access to the lift gate. It's a very simple feature. All you need to do is go ahead and grab this post here to brace it and not let it fall on you. You want to pull this top pin out that's closest to you and just slowly let it down just like this. This is going to leave us some room to access our lift gate. Now we're able to get into the back of the vehicle without taking the entire bike rack off so that we could change our shoes, reload on water, store our helmets, change our clothes. Anything we need to get back here for, we can do so without removing the bike rack. Now when it comes to removing the bike from the rack, we're going to want to keep the hook up here engaged. This is really what's keeping it upright and sturdy for you. We're going to start with undoing the wheel straps through this ratchet system right here. You can go ahead and disengage the hook. Depending on where your front hook is mounted, you may have to raise it up in order to get this lifted up enough. But what we'll need to do is go ahead and make sure this is unlocked. We'll compress that button, lift up, and now the hook is clear of the frame. Once we have that done, we're going to go ahead and feed this through the back, bearing in mind that we want to keep good control of these handlebars to make sure that front wheel doesn't go wild on us. We're going to go ahead and feed it through the back here and down. Now we're ready to hit the trail. There are going to be times where you're going to be driving around and not have your bikes or e-bikes with you. But perhaps you're going to be using them soon and you don't want to uninstall your bike rack. Well, this actually features a stow position, and I'm going to show you how to use that right now. So the first thing you'll need to do to get it into that position is take this pin here, which is grooved, by the way. There is a notch in it that needs to be lined up in order to get it to come out. And we're going to use that to go ahead and pull that. This is going to then lay down flat like this. And then we're going to re-engage our pin through this notch up here, paying attention to where the groove is so that it'll feed all the way through. As such. Now it's locked in this position. We're going to be able to move this up into the stowed position by pulling this pin here and this pin until it's in its upright position. Now that we have it here, we all of a sudden have taken a considerable amount off of the back of the vehicle, and it's going to give us more space to do our parking and maybe fitting into a garage or another tight space. Now this rack comes with a pretty typical L-shaped hitch pin right here. It does have an anti-rattle device that's actually fed through the shank of the bike rack and controlled by this lever here. What it'll do is as you crank this and tighten it down, it pushes a piston through here up against that pin and limits any horizontal movement that we get out of it. So we can disengage that by loosening it. And once that's loosened, it'll allow us to remove our pin. So there's a look at the Hollywood Rack Sport Rider SE bike rack for e-bikes on our Jeep Grand Cherokee L. I actually think this is a really good fit on this vehicle. I do think it has a tighter space than a lot of bike racks as far as coming behind it, because to tell you the truth, this is a really long vehicle already. So in the stowed position, it really doesn't have a lot of extra room in the back, and I like that a lot. But other than that, I think this would be a great option on the 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee L. I'm Kurt with eTrailer. Thanks for stopping by.